Hey folks, welcome back to HeartGold vs. Crystal. We are here in Blackthorn City, and we are about to take on the Blackthorn City Gym, because there's very little else of interest here in this town. There's a move, tutor, and deleter, and there's a guy who will give you a soft sand on Saturdays, but overall it's basically Gym Town, lots of fun. And anyway, as this guy will say, no Pokemon following you for this gym. Probably because it would be too hard to animate. But the puzzle of the gym is basically you got these moving platforms that can shift left and right and also rotate, and you have to use them to navigate. And it's actually a fairly decent, interesting, neato, nifty, keen puzzle. I will accept them. Partially because I stink at them. Anyway, most of the gym trainers here are a variation on this guy. He has Dratini, other trainers will have Dragonair, and he also has a Seadra, as you will see at the end. And this gym is a Dragon-type gym. Dragon types are kind of mythical, legendary. Legendary has a certain stigma associated with it, but they are rare and often very difficult to take down, Dragon types. Dragon types have two weaknesses. They are weak to ice, and they are weak to other dragons, and I don't have moves of either of those types, so I'm gonna have to brute force my way through a lot of these fights. I'm only showing this one just so you can see what most of the gym trainers are like, and you haven't really seen either of these Pokemon before, so it's worth showing off, I think. You can actually get a Dratini by this point. It's a bit of a pain to do so, but you can get a Dratini as a prize at the Voltorb flip. I think it's like 2,100 coins, which is a lot of Voltorb flipping, to be sure. They take a while to raise up to become useful, but early in the game, if you get them right when you get a Goldenrod, they can actually be very useful because they have Dragon Rage, which always does 40 hit points of damage, which is a good amount early on, and is still alright at this point. Anyway, also you'll see some Seadra here. Seadra are not actually Dragon types, they are pure water types, but they do have an evolution that is a Dragon type, and they look enough like a dragon that I guess they can get away with it. But yeah, it's kind of a reprieve, because normally you can't really use grass types against dragon types. But Frida gets a shot in. It's definitely welcome. And basically all the other trainers go down in a very similar fashion. Brute force on the Dratini, usually coming from Umbreon, because Everett's kind of my best option against a lot of these trainers. And then occasional solar beams against the Seadra. So now it's just a matter of getting through these progressively slightly tougher rotation puzzles. It can be a bit annoying because you can't rotate the platform the exact direction you want. It'll only rotate clockwise, so keep that in mind when you're trying to solve the puzzle. But most of these aren't too difficult. They require you to think, but they're not too difficult. With the exception of this upcoming one, which probably isn't actually difficult, I just had a brain fart. But you have to get it to rotate to a certain position, and eventually make your way through that narrow gap there, like here. Alright, and then rotate, get in the proper position to line yourself up with the right side of that platform up there, since you can't move directly up while the platform is facing up. You'll have to try something else, basically. And I swear to God, I'm gonna get it eventually. There we go. I actually edited that down. I had a much worse time with that before. But anyway, that's the puzzle, so let's leave and come back and do the entire puzzle stream again as we head off to actually fight Clair. Oh, I spoiled the name of the gym leader. What am I gonna do? Now, Claire, I think she's generally regarded as a pretty tough gym leader in the general fandom. Is the general opinion of her is that she's tough. Seems like most of the female gym leaders in Johto are generally considered to be pretty tough. But Claire is mostly problematic because of one specific Pokemon. Again, like most of the gym leaders in Johto. But she's actually nothing to scoff at in general. She does have 3 other Pokemon that are definitely worth mentioning, as you will see. So let's get this going. It's gonna be fun. And Claire is indeed the final gym leader of Johto, so naturally she should be the toughest, hopefully. She leads off with a Gyarados. Now, that's actually interesting, because as you'll see, she didn't have a Gyarados in Crystal. She had 3 of another kind of Pokemon, but one of them was replaced with Gyarados, and it's worth keeping that in mind, because that means the first Pokemon that you send out will automatically have a cut attack stat, thanks to Gyarados' Intimidate ability. So you'll want to send out a special attacker, most likely. Now, Gyarados is a water flying type, which means you'll want an electric type move, probably, which, alas, I don't have. So often people like to use rock type moves against it. I have one, but it isn't really that great anymore. So my eventual strategy was to try to poison it and eventually whittle it down, as I tend to whittle many things down. So that's Sludge Bomb in action. And then my rock type move that I actually have is hopefully we'll have a chance to use it. Klaus isn't the best defensively, but there we go, Rock Tomb. And I've actually found kind of a new utility for Rock Tomb. Even though it's not the strongest move in the world, its lowering speed ability side effect is actually very useful. I don't know if it comes into play in this battle, but it will definitely be useful in the future. So you can look forward to that. Anyway, next up on Claire's ladder is Dragonair. We have 2 Dragonairs on the team. It is the evolved form of Dratini, and operates in very much the same way. Same ability, same typing, same everything. And luckily, I have a wonderful thing called Synchronize, which will share either paralysis, burn, or poison with the opponent. But unfortunately, Dragonair has the Shed Skin ability, which has, I think, a third, 33% chance of getting rid of a status effect at the end of a turn, which is definitely annoying. That limits Synchronize's usefulness, but having that is certainly appreciated. I'd rather have it for a short period of time than not at all. Anyway, as you can see, I like to use Confuse Ray on these guys. Confuse Ray is an excellent way to either, well, actually both lower the amount of damage that Everett will usually take, and also inflict a little bit of extra damage on the opponent. So that is definitely useful. Anyway, now we have the big problem of her team, Kingdra. Kingdra is a pain in the butt for a number of reasons. Basically, all of Kingdra's moves are extremely high base power. She has things like Hyper Beam, Hydro Pump, some sort of dragon move that does a ton of damage, and then also Smokescreen, just as an added middle finger. And she has the ability Sniper, which causes critical hits to do 3 times damage rather than double. So, yeah, the moves will do a lot of damage, just on their own, and then if they critical, God help you, you're probably dead. So my goal here, ideally, is to eventually get Frida in there and Leech Seed and Poison on him, so that I can just use Everett as a wall, stall him out, and eventually he'll die through attrition. And eventually, hopefully that might happen, maybe, if I'm lucky. But absolute worst case scenario, I will stall him out of PP for every move he has, which luckily generally don't have too much PP. And that will allow Everett to basically use it as a punching bag. Let's get rid of that paralysis. Paralysis is never a good thing to have. Even if you have guts, burn is much preferable. And yeah, smokescreen. Let's have a little rant about smokescreen. Smokescreen, as I'm sure I've established, lowers one's accuracy one stage. It's very easy to spam, so you will often have your opponents lowering your accuracy to very low levels, which will make most of your attacks miss. So that's why a lot of people like to pack some sort of a perfect accuracy move, like Swift or Shockwave in this case might be the ideal. But it's still annoying. You can get rid of it by switching out, which is what I did there, because above all, I want to keep Everett alive and in good fighting condition. So yeah, that's that deal. Anyway, let's zoom forward in time, because this, as I said, was a battle of attrition. And unfortunately, I never got Frida to put in that Leaf Seed and Poison Powder, because essentially everything Kingdra could do would one-shot Frida. So either it would use a Hyper Beam to finish somebody off, then I could switch into Frida on a free turn and get something in there, or just have Everett endure things, because Everett's really good at that, and that was my eventual conclusion on what I should do. And Kingdra goes down, and Dragonair comes in. This Dragonair, it is slightly different from the first Dragonair. I don't remember if the level is any different, because I'm really bad at paying attention, but I do think its moveset is slightly different. One thing that trainers in this game like to do is have multiple copies of a Pokemon with like 1 or 2 moves changed for type coverage. There's a certain other Dragon-type trainer that does something very similar. I assume that Clair does the same thing, but for God's sake, I don't remember if that's actually the case. I could look it up, but that would require effort, and really you can probably take care of it in much the same way. Still got Thunder Wave, like the other Dragonair. Maybe one of them packs a Fire move to get rid of any Ice types that you might be trying to bring, but since my strategy is like brute force, that's not really happening. And you can see I'm using the move Payback. Payback is actually learned from the TM, and it's a move that I believe does double damage if the Pokemon using it has already been struck that turn, but it doesn't automatically go second. So it's useful on slow Pokemon like Umbreon. It'll be on the moveset for a little while, but not permanently. It is a physical move, which, Everett's fairly similar in terms of both physical and special attack, but I'll have other things that I would rather use in the future. But anyway, let's figure out this Dragonair business, alright? It's a freaking Chinese myth dragon, and it's gonna go down eventually. See, the Payback isn't doing that much. And really, I'm sure that a lot of my other Pokemon could probably inflict more damage. Like, Klaus using Strength would probably do more damage than Everett's Payback. But Everett is like the one Pokemon who can actually take 1 or 2 hits from this guy. Everett, since evolving, has become extremely, extremely, extremely useful in attrition, and when you're underleveled like I am, attrition is often a very, very good tactic. It may not be the most thrilling for you guys to watch, but I will try to minimize the tedium. Look, that's a 3-hit KO, that's fine. And are we gonna get in the final hit? There we go. Dragonair goes down. And that's Clair. So stay tuned for the Crystal fight after this commercial break. Alrighty, time for the Crystal fight. Let's see what's different. Well, I've already revealed one of the differences to you. She doesn't have a Gyarados in this version, she instead has 3 separate Dragonair. Honestly, I like the change. This Dragonair has Surf. I assume other Dragonair have different things. But yeah, that Sandra coming out first, not a great idea against a Dragonair with Surf, but I assume the rest of the fight went alright, because I kept that take. Good effort, Sandra. A for effort. Yeah. Alright, Klaus coming in again, no Ice-type moves, so we're gonna have to brute force it. And the tricky thing about the Crystal version here is that since I don't have Everett evolved yet, I don't have an Umbreon, it's gonna be tricky. I don't have my wonderful attrition strategy quite as well cemented, because I don't have a bulky Pokemon to take hits. So instead, I'm just gonna, at least for the Dragonair, let's try to Surf him. Oh god. I'm having flashbacks. I think this guy has Thunderbolt. Yeah. And I'm willing, I will bet a deviled egg that the last one has either, it has Ice Beam. I believe so. So that's unfortunate, and you may or may not actually know which Dragonair that you're facing. She'll lead with a Surf one, but she could switch in either the Thunderbolt or the Ice Beam one, and you wouldn't know which is which. Unless she always switches them in the same order, which would be dumb. I don't know. Anyway, because I'm an idiot, I brought in Bree rather than somebody who could endure a Thunderbolt. Unfortunately, Sandra is fainted, so that's not an option, but still, I don't think Bree was the best option. You know, I have a Grass type. That would be better against someone with Thunderbolt. Like, say, Frida? There we go. No, other. I guess I'm really reluctant to use Okay, I'm reluctant to use Frida, because I really want Frida alive for Kingdra. Because without Umbreon, I don't have I don't have a wall, like I said, so my attrition strategy is going to have to be using Leech Seed and Poison Powder on Kingdra. So I'm doing everything in my power to keep Frida in ideal condition for when Ice Beam for when Kingdra comes in. And if that means I have to sacrifice all my other Pokemon, so be it. Anyway, there we go, we have the Dragonair with Ice Beam, and since most of my sweepers are kinda out of the way, wow, that was lucky. Since they're kind of out of the way, just gonna have to use, Webster, or use Revives, but seriously, who uses Revives in this day and age? I use them. It's me, I use them. But yeah, that was incredibly lucky, getting a poison and crit on the same turn. That's something I would expect the opponent to get. Anyway, there we go. Webster doing pretty well for himself. And now, getting this strategy to work with Frida, it could be tougher than expected, because I don't know how well Frida can survive Kingdra's hits. I don't know if Frida can outspeed it. Probably not. I don't know if Kingdra's gonna dish out attacks from the get-go, which apparently it didn't. And Smokescreen, honestly, I don't care as much about in this version, as long as I can get Leech Seed and Poison Powder in, which is not happening. Is it gonna happen? If I can get one of them in, that's good. If I can get 2 of them in, that's great. If I can get none of them in, that's terrible. Get something in there. There we go, alright. I like to go for the Leech Seed first, just so I have the definite source of healing. And now, assuming it doesn't, KO Frida, which it very well could, We can use a little bit of attrition, wait for it to do something dumb, and then get the poison powder in when necessary. Oh, that's terrible. But as you can see, Kingdra does not have Dragon Pulse, or whatever it was in this version. It has Dragon Breath, which is a much inferior move. It's less powerful. It does have the side effect of possible paralysis, but it's definitely not nearly as dangerous, not nearly as powerful. So anyway, here's the scoop. Switching into Webster to get rid of those accuracy drops on Frida. Webster, unfortunately, is basically death fodder here, but I don't know if I meant to do that. What the current me was thinking is that I would use Webster's death fodder, heal Frida, and then when Webster dies, switch back into Frida, get in the poison powder with very good accuracy. But maybe my past self had other ideas, or maybe that was a misclick. I don't know. It looks like I had other ideas. Anyway, you can see I was trying to get in Scary Face. I thought that might be useful since slowing Kingdra down would allow me to get in a poison powder before Kingdra manages to unleash a smoke screen. Now Everett, on the other hand, I could use Sand Attack again. I could go for the price strategy again. Didn't really want to do that because that just feels so cheap. Unfortunately, Everett doesn't get a whole lot of action in the Crystal version here, because that evolution changed a lot. Made Everett so much more useful. And unfortunately, thanks to the lack of Soothe Bell, it's going to take a while longer to evolve Everett. Anyway, let's get in that poison powder. Smokescreen failed. This should work out. No, of course not. Again, I can do this by attrition. I can spam my healing items and it'll eventually be sapped away. She might use a full restore or something. Good frickin' lord. Frida's having the worst luck, but apparently this is a successful run. So take that as you will. There we go, there's the poison powder. Now that it's almost useless, now that it's basically two turns away from fainting anyway. But yeah, down to the wire on Frida. This is the strategy that I would have used in HeartGold had I managed to make it work, but I didn't manage to make it work, so let's just do it this way. And as you can see, that essentially doubles the rate at which Kingdra is being destroyed. And I also have a free turn to get in a confusion there. Kingdra definitely a lot less offensively oriented in this version, since its moves are not nearly as powerful. But again, probably the most annoying part of it, the smokescreen, still persists. Good lord, that confusion did basically as much as the leech seed and the poison, so that's not too strong. One thing to note about Kingdra before it dies, it is a water dragon type, and that will nullify its ice type weakness. And that makes Dragon actually its only real weakness. And good lord, those are hard to come by. That's a type combination shared only by one other Pokemon, introduced in Generation 4, which happens to be a legendary. So, it's a hell of a thing. But anyway, Confusion, compounded of Leech Seed and Poison. Kindra's going down. Took a while, but going down. And Frida gets some airtime. Thank goodness. And that takes care of Clair. Believe it. And that is all 8 badges of Johto. Right? Right? God, this is Whitney all over again. So yeah, we need to go, like, do a thing in a cave or something before she'll give us the badge, because she's a sore loser or something. So we'll do that next time. And I will see you guys next time.